Hi, you guys. Welcome to our Achievery webinar. Today, we're going to be talking about the Achievery a platform that is created by AT&T with a lot of our favorite content collaborators. We are here with quite a few amazing people to discuss Homeschool Edition of the Achievery. So how the Achievery can be used in your homeschool environment. I myself am a homeschool parent, and we have Claudette here with us today. She is also a homeschool parent. We're going to talk a little bit about how we use this curriculum with our students, how you can use it with your kids, and some of our favorite features of the Achievery. So I'm going to dive in a little bit. The Achievery, if you're not familiar, was created by AT&T and includes a lot of different videos across the K through 12 atmosphere. So we're looking at video content that spans from kindergarten all the way through 12th grade. These videos are subdivided into genres or subjects, right? So we're looking at math and science. Curriculum is an option. I'm going to share my screen with you real quick just so you can see what we're looking at. Okay. And that's this. This is the Achievery, which actually just got a really cool facelift. So I was really excited when I logged on and got to see like, oh, they updated it. There's so much new. And like a kid or like a homeschool parent who loves new curriculum, I went crazy looking at everything, trying to find, ooh, what's new? What can I find that's different? So this is the Achievery. And here you can search for different content based off of subject. So there are 7 different topics that are currently featured on the Achievery. You can click on any of these and dive into the world of math, for example, and scroll down and see all of the different units that are covered. And again, like I said, the Achievery offers content from K through 12th grade, which means each of these units is going to tell you what grade level it primarily has content to focus on. So we have things for 5th grade here, 4th grade, down 9th and 10th grade, so on and so forth. You can search specifically by that grade level if you're interested in diving in for that and being able to find content specific to your students and what you're looking for, or you can search by actual description of the content. So let's say you're learning about perpendicular lines right now in your homeschool, you can look to see if there's video content that matches that. So just some cute, unique features from the Achievery, really accessible and absolutely free, which I know is like our favorite word in the homeschool world. What curriculum that's free, or a curriculum additives that are free? Yes, sign me up. I don't have to pay for even more content to keep my kids busy and educate them. So that's a little bit about the Achievery. I can tell you that as a homeschool parent, I have 2 students, 2 kids that are still homeschooled at home, but at one point I had 6, and they ranged from pre-K all the way through high school. And it's tough. It's tough when you have to try to figure out like, how can I find things for each of them at their level in the middle of the day while I'm trying to, teach about space, but it needs to be space for a pre-K, space for a 2nd grader, space for an 8th grader, and just be able to kind of match them at their level. And so it can be really expensive, as most of you homeschoolers know, to be able to purchase curriculum that meets so many different needs. And that's one of the things that I really enjoy about the Achievery and wish it would have been around a long time ago when I had so many kids at home, but I am now able to use it with my 2 kids. So I have a 3rd and 6th grader who are still at home homeschooled right now. And we do use the Achievery. They will ask specifically if they can get on and play on the Achievery. And while the Achievery does not have games, it does have video content that includes lessons. And somewhere within those, a lot of these content creators like Warner Brothers and Cartoon Network and Bottle and Scratch, they've given you links to additional content. So my kid's personal favorite is Bottle. If you have not heard of Bottle, it's amazing. Totally great for your elementary kids, especially. And because Bottle is a featured content collaborator for the Achievery, they not only provide videos, learning videos for you with lesson plans, but also access to bottle.com, where your student can create their own little Bottle character and play little games and learn different activities through those games and build up achievements. Khan Academy, another popular one I know most of you have heard of, is also a content collaborator for the Achievery and has the same kind of setup for you on this platform. So there's a lot of them to go through, and we could be here all day talking about them, but they are amazing. And that's how we use Achievery in my household. I think another really important thing that I want to talk about with them is the projects and opportunities that the Achievery has when you go digging. So this is something I discovered because, of course, I had to learn everything about the Achievery that I could for my job, but also as a homeschool parent, I don't want my kids on something that I haven't checked out completely. And there is an option for not only parents and teachers to create their own lesson or their own their own membership, to have their own membership with the Achievery and create their own login, but also for students. So the kids can have their own sign up themselves for the Achievery and be able to log in on their own. And I will never let my kids do that until I investigate. So I've dug through the Achievery backwards and forwards, and I found that they actually have some really cool experiments that are listed in there. This week, for example, because my kids are doing Earth and space science, we are creating moon craters. And that is a lesson with an experiment, fully detailed experiment that I found from the Achievery, all for free. So that's really cool to help this homeschool mama out, because as you can tell, I also work full time. And so being able to find activities my kids can do, and especially free resources, is important. And that's part of the reason why we have Claudette with us today, because Claudette is also a working homeschool parent, and she juggles having to work full time as well as educate her kids. So Claudette, I'm going to go ahead and turn things over to you now. I'd love to hear a little bit more about who you are, what you do, and also how you made this decision to be a homeschool parent and what that looks like for you.
Well, hello, Jess. Nice to finally meet you and everybody on the call. Hi, my name is Claudette Chigede. I am a pharmacist by profession. I've been in my industry for almost 15 years. I am a mom of 4 children. My oldest is 7. My second will be 6 in a few days. And then I have a 4-year-old and an 8-month-old. So I do stay quite busy.
I can feel this.
Yes. So my journey was almost I went from curiosity to conviction to a commitment. That's how I'll describe that. So I got my primary and high school education out of the United States. So I am foreign born. I was born in Cameroon. So that's where and Cameroon is in West Africa. You know, homeschool parents, everything is a lesson. So so that's where Cameroon is. And so I moved here when I was 18 for undergrad. And then I did my master's in public health and then worked for a while, went to pharmacy school, and then now I'm a mama. So when it came for time for me to find out, my daughter was 3 years old when my journey began. So that was in 2018. Yeah. So she wasn't 3 yet, maybe like 2.5, but close enough. So I went to a lot of open houses and I started learning about the US educational system, because I did not know anything before college, because I did not experience that. So I was doing a lot of research. I read a lot of books, listened to a bunch of podcasts. And after I just could not find the right fit, I toured public schools, private schools, and then even within private school, there were like different educational philosophies. There were like your Protestant schools, there are Catholic schools, there's a whole array of them. So I just could not find the right fit. And then when I had my youngest, I ran into a lady at church, and she was like, "Oh yeah, you guys can come visit us at the house." And it was a Tuesday afternoon, and I got there and everybody was home. I found it quite strange.
And not at school. What are they doing?
Yes. And at that time, her husband worked from home too. So I walk into this house and he comes up for lunch like a few minutes after I settle in. I'm like, why is everybody in this house? What is happening here? And then she's like, "Oh yeah, we homeschool." So I had vaguely heard about this. And I was like, you do what? She's like, "Yeah, I homeschool my kids." And then I started asking myself all these questions, like, how does she know what to teach them? How does she think she's qualified to do this? Is this even legal?
Right.
So just I started asking all these questions, and she was very, very informative. She studied children's library science. So she was really resourceful when it came to that. And she also showed me what she was doing at the time. And also like she shared her journey with me. And I just left there inspired. I'm like, let's try this thing out. I was like, maybe when my turn comes, we'll try. So at that point, my daughter is 3. And then but they were going to a Mother's Day program, like a half day preschool type thing.
Right.
And then the other ones were in daycare at the time. And then the pandemic happened. So I was like, well, then my daughter was in kindergarten. So she was already reading at 3.5. So when it came to kindergarten, I was like, well, what's there to do in kindergarten? Let's just learn how to read this year and we'll figure it out. And then the pandemic happened. So I call it pandemic practice. Because I was like, well, if we're going to do this thing, maybe this is our chance to give it a try. And then I learned about like homeschool conventions. The one closest to me here in Lexington is usually sometime in April. It's called the Great Homeschool
Yeah,
Convention.
the Great Homeschool Conventions. Yes, they're
Yes.
everywhere. They're amazing.
Yeah, so we went to the first one in 2020 and we've gone every year since then. So after that first year, I was just really pleased with the results that we experienced at the time. And my husband and I decided we're going to do this year by year. It's not a lifetime commitment, just wherever we are. And every year would reassess to see if that's the best course of action for our family. So
That's
we
fair.
started that in 2020. And by the time my kindergartner was done, she was reading at second grade level. So I said, okay. So I was like, well, according to Kentucky law, you're supposed to be in school from the age of 6 to 18. So in 2020, she was 5 years old. So I was like, okay, this is I have to get it right this year. And so when she turned 6 now in first grade, we did all the requirements that were required by HSLDA, which is Homeschool Legal Defense Associates or something. Yes, just escaped my mind there. So HSLDA has like legal requirements for every state. So you go there, it's an annual membership. So I went there and I looked at the requirements for my state. So when she started first grade, I said, okay, this is what my state requires us to do. And so that's what we do as our spine, for lack of a better word. So in my state, in Kentucky, you're required to teach math, English language, history, science, and civics. And there is a lot of leeway on what you do. So there are standards, but there is no specific content based on that. You can tailor it according to your family,
Right.
your schedule. And so that's kind of where we are. So we're in second grade this year. Oh, because we have to give the kids a grade. But
Right. That's how we are too. We're like, I mean, technically we're in this grade. Are we doing some grade level stuff a little below because we're still,
yes.
are we doing some a little above because we, excel in this subject? Yes. So by age, this is what grade we're in because we have to
Yes.
assign grades. I feel that.
So because we had to assign grades, that's where we are. So we're in second grade, first grade, and kindergarten. But in terms of our skill and experience, it's very asynchronous because my oldest is 7 and she read Little Women 2 months ago. It's a 700-page book.
Yes.
By
One of my
Louisa May
favorites.
Alcott. And it was painful for me. But I'm really, really, really pleased by the breadth of knowledge that we can experience based on this lifestyle that we have chosen. So that's kind of where my family is, and we're just really, really pleased with our results. All 3 of my children are advanced in different ways. My youngest really likes science and engineering. So the other day she built an elevator with her dad. She's 4 years old.
I
And then
love it.
my middle one loves to bake, and she is really good at fractions. So it's just whatever they're interested in. If you
Yes.
can tailor that and meet the standards, it's quite a journey. And I'm learning so much with them with
It's so
them as I go along.
It is. It's so much
Yes.
fun though. My daughters were actually having a debate this morning, and I'm sitting down here and we kind of have our own workstations because I have a classroom set up for us, and so I can work in one area and they have their workstations. And they start arguing and I'm doing email stuff and I'm like, "What are you guys fighting over now?" And they're like, "Well, one of them says that water only evaporates if it's hot. Like if you put water on a pan on the stove, it would evaporate or over the fire. But if it's room temperature, it's not going to evaporate." And the other's like, "Yes, it will. It takes some time, but it will evaporate." And so they're like actually arguing over who's right. And I'm like, "Why don't we just do an experiment?" So I went and grabbed a glass jar. We put some water in it. We took a line and drew it around it. We talked about our scientific question, and then each of the hypotheses that they had of what would happen to the water, is it going to evaporate or not, and what could cause it. And we talked about the environment and different controls we would have to set for this to be a fancy experiment. But third and sixth grade, their minds were just arguing about something random, and now we have a jar of water sitting in the house with waiting to see if in 3 to 4 days the water has gone down at all so that we can form our conclusions. And so being able to have those moments where it's just natural learning, like they have a question and they want it answered, and so we can adapt. We're not learning about water evaporation right now in science, but it doesn't mean that we can't have that
Explore
moment.
that. Yes.
Yeah, to be able to be, to have fun too. We also did one last week. We took a canvas outside because it was 100 degrees and miserable all week. So we took a canvas outside and we had glued crayons all along the top because crayons are made of
Yes.
wax, colored wax.
Mhm.
And we just let it sit outside all day to see what would happen, right? And so this was primarily for my third grader because my sixth grader's like, whatever. But and sure enough, we have this beautiful canvas colored in melted colorful wax because that's what happens when it's 100 degrees outside and you leave crayons out.
That's
So,
outside.
just being able to have those moments is really cool, and to dive into the what ifs in the moment. So thank you so much for sharing that. It's always nice to hear how other people do their homeschool as well. How do you juggle this kind of craziness of especially with your advanced kids who are just sponges wanting to learn so many things while working full-time outside of the home? What is that like for you?
Um, my secret weapon is my husband. So this is when I say I homeschool, I do not do all the work by myself. It is in this enterprise of ours, my husband is responsible for driving us to the convention and helping me find curriculum. And he's just really, really resourceful in his own way. And it is a life integrated model for us. We do homeschool all year round because it is, for me, I found it unproductive for me to teach them something for 9 months and then they're going to forget it for 3 months. And then I have to teach them again for the first 2 months of school.
Yes.
So in order for this to be, I work 2 to 3 days outside of the home. And my schedule is a typical healthcare schedule, is 7 on, 7 off. So I work for 7 days and I'm home for 7 days. So that's kind of how I juggle it. So we do, and we are not, it's very life integrated because it has to be sustainable for the whole family. And sometimes you do not have the option of just being a one income household. And I would like to describe myself as an economic refugee because because this immigrant mother has been given this, I'm an immigrant mother who has been given the skill and the opportunity to do that. And as a girl mom, I think it will be a disservice for me not to take that opportunity. So I almost see myself as a mentor to my children, and also a co-laborer, because they would see me do this. This is real life. This is not a drill. So
I say that all the time. We are learning as we go, people, and it's going to be, this is not practice. It is what it is.
Yes, some days it's really beautiful, and I have had to give up some ideals of mine. So the one thing I'm either three things. I am a pharmacist, a wife, a parent, a housekeeper. So it's usually two or three out of the four. And usually the thing that I would choose to give up is housekeeping some days, because in 30 years, it wouldn't matter that my home is spotless, but it would matter if my children do not or know how to read.
Yes, yes.
So
and I will definitely like make cleaning a part of our PE sometimes too. Like we're here in Tennessee where I'm at, we're required to have only 4 hours a day of school, 180 days out of the year. We do year round as well, but we're also required, the certain subjects, and one of them is physical education. And I kid you not, sometimes we turn on music so that our bodies are dancing while we're cleaning, and we clean up because it's been so long and I've had to neglect the house because I have a job and I have a family, and plus we have school. So I completely understand where you're like, you got to pick one to go sometimes, and it's just on the back burner because you have to prioritize.
yeah, so I do a lot of that in my daily life. So we do have schedules, rhythms, and routines. It does help to have some structure, but we have given ours, because I decided to describe it to myself as schooling is a child's job. And if I work year round, that a child should be able to do that, or that is practice for real life, because in real life, how much time do you have off? Let's just say 4 to 6 weeks of vacation. So if I can have that integrated, and I feel like it does take away the burnout for me
Yes.
and for them. It makes it more sustainable. Like my goal in this initiative is sustainability and life integration. Yes.
No, absolutely. I love that. Oh, thank you for sharing. That's beautiful. I like that. Okay, so you've got a lot to juggle. You have a superhero known as your husband. That's nice. Mine works like 14-hour days. So he's like, has no idea what's going on with the kids' curriculum. He's like, that's your thing. So let's talk curriculum a little bit, because
Okay.
obviously, you've said some stuff about how your kids do kind of perform on an advanced level. So they're not necessarily on what is a typical grade level material, right? So how do you pick your curriculum, and what type of things do you use? Is it all taught directly? Is some of it independent work for them so that you can get some stuff done? Is it mostly independent work for some and more hands-on for the other? Kind of what does that distribution look like?
It's it just depends on the child. So it's a lot of hands-on, some of it's hands-on, some of it is auditory, some of it is trial and error. So in terms of curriculum, so my first year, our main goal was three: reading, writing, and arithmetic. So that's always my core. So in terms of that, I try to find a rigorous curriculum for them, and that does not mean that I don't give them a chance to be children. Affection always softens instruction, so I feel like a child can be taught anything just based on their level. So depending on wherever the child is, sometimes it's just the vocabulary of that subject,
Right.
and then sometimes it's just the next phase is application, and then the next phase is a self-designed project. So it's, you just meet the child wherever they are. So 2 weeks ago we did cell theory. So mine are just in first, second, and kindergarten. So I have to teach it to their level. So the basic difference is what an animal cell looks like and what a plant cell looks like. So we have the kits, we have a microscope. So I will not be teaching. So we look through the microscope there, and I don't know if it's post-COVID or it's just me discovering this. There are so many resources out there.
Yeah.
You can almost teach everything at home besides surgery.
I'm sure there's an app for that.
So so there's so many kits out there. So we have one that we used last week. And now they will not tell you what the exact organelles of a cell look like, but they'll tell you the basic premises. So that's kind of my approach. Affection always softens instruction. So just meet the child wherever they are. And if they're advanced, good luck to you, parent.
It is hard. I ended up sending my son, he's in 8th grade, to public school this year because we've homeschooled for the last few years. Primarily because when he was in public school, he was very advanced and they just didn't have anything to keep him
Challenge
busy.
him, yes.
And so I brought him home and I challenged him, but it also, like, my brain was just mush by the end of the day because I had to try to keep up, and I don't consider myself a slacker when it comes to academics, but he just constantly wanted to do more. He finished 6th grade. He finished all of high school chemistry within the first semester. And I'm like, I do not do chemistry, so I can't do advanced, like what do I do now? So he's actually back in public school in a gifted program, but also he needed the people interaction, and we made that choice. And I love how you had said that, this is kind of like we're assessing every year and what our lives look like and what we can do. And right now this is really beneficial, and you're able to kind of mold the curriculum and teach across a couple different age groups based off of where their learning style is, with the opportunity to maybe one day go to public school if that's what fits for your family. And I think that's a smart way to kind of look at it and approach it. And especially with the way that you use curriculum, where it's a very interactive and purposeful education moment with each of the kids and helping them where they learn. I think one of the things that I really like about Achievery is this kind of division that they have with these topics, but a topic can be covered 3 different times, but they've divided it up and made it easier. So the content creators through the Achievery will say, like maybe they put out a video on how to do coding. There's a lot of coding, and that's very popular right now. Homeschool is like, what, we can do coding? Because for years, I started homeschooling, way before COVID, and it was more difficult. You said something about how easy it is to just get everything now. There was still a lot of resources available by all means, but it was still primarily focused around your core subjects, and you had to search. You had to try really hard to find some things that would work for your students where they're at to homeschool outside of just your core topics. And what we've seen is this explosion of technology and engineering and those type of content pieces becoming available for students. And the Achievery is, they're not behind the game on this. They're actually moving in the forefront because one of the primary subjects that they have is technology and engineering. And I'm pretty sure that's where the majority of the content is. If I were to do an analysis, the majority of the content that is created through the Achievery right now is under that technology and engineering umbrella because it's what is in demand. And so a lot of these content creators, like Scratch is the one I use a lot. Girls Who Code is another one. They've created videos to walk these students through learning basic coding all the way through to high school if they have more advanced. And so you're able to be like, okay, well, we're going to learn how to do an animation. But my kindergarten or first grader, like, they're not going to understand all these concepts at the same level. So there's a video that covers kindergarten, first grade level, and it's literally just like how to add something to the screen. And pick a sticker and figure out which animal you're going to use and add it. But the more advanced video that targets the high school age students who maybe already have that foundational piece is now, yes, you still have to pick your characters, but how to make it look like they're moving with a still background that, or goes in a different direction, and putting the pieces together to create actual animation, and then gives them the links to take that lesson plan and then apply it directly in the Scratch interface. So really cool opportunities to spread out there. I know you've dove into the Achievery. Can you tell me, what are your thoughts about it? Like, as a homeschool parent who does this kind of interactive learning style, what did you like about the Achievery? Where are you at with it? What are some things that you'd love to share about it?
So in terms of like what I discovered, I really like that it was really heavy on the AI, technology, engineering, kind of where we are. And it had some really, really cool digital initiatives. And I thought it was really helpful for me as a parent. Maybe it's just a rookie mistake on my part, but from a child's perspective, I did not find it to be interactive. That Yes, I did not see that aspect of it. There are no games or any challenges. Okay,
Yeah.
I may have. I was afraid that maybe I missed that. But from an instructor point of view, I think it's very useful because it kind of gives you background, credible background knowledge on
Yes.
the basics because
Yes.
it's not just now the internet is very everything's out there, so it's now what's the quality of the information you're getting. And I was really pleased with the list of partnerships that were on there. I saw Cartoon Network, even Khan Academy, like you said earlier. So it was really nice to see that those big names were affiliated with this.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, but for I did learn a lot of things on there, like the new there's a video that I watched in the science segment about bathymetry. Never heard about it. So
Yes. Okay, if it's in math, most likely I haven't heard about it anyway. But I found the same thing. I've been looking for content. I do a feature piece each week to talk about some of the really cool things on Achievery, and I always look for new content. And there's things on there that I'm like, I didn't know this existed. What is this? And I'm watching it for me. It's like third to fifth
yes.
grade level, and I'm like, what? Cool. Like,
Yeah, so it's like mapping the ocean floor. It's a really cool component of marine science. So I was like, this is really for an instructor, I think it's very, very informative. But maybe I'm yet to learn more about it. Like from a student perspective, I did not think there was much for them to do. And mine are not old enough to really watch a video on their own and really assess what they need for that. But I feel like maybe for sixth grade and up, if they're working on a project and they needed some background information, it's a very good place to start, and with credible sources too.
yes,
Yeah.
the credibility is really important. And that's a really good observation you made. It's pretty similar to what, we've heard before. It's not necessarily a platform at this point, at this stage in its life, because it is still new. It's kind of in its beginning year or so. So it's a newer platform. So at this stage in its life, it's not really interactive for the students.
Yes.
However, one of the ways that they've kind of countered that helps us as instructors is by attaching those lesson plans. So, you'll have the video, and then underneath for some of the videos, it'll say you can download the free lesson plan. And the lesson plan then gives us as an instructor ways to then be like, okay, we showed the video to the kids. Now here are things to discuss on their grade level from that video, as well as additional activities we can do to challenge them. And so sometimes that looks like things that they can do under math or science, like the experiment that, we're doing later in the week. Sometimes it's group discussions because it's meant to be done when you have a couple of people, or, sometimes it's independent work. So there's a lot of different opportunities within those lesson plans, as well as some of the content creators then have links to their sites that have those interactive pieces like Khan Academy, like Bottle, like Scratch. You can't do it on the Achievery, but that's where you get the introduction and you get the lesson. And then they give you the link to then go create a free account through this content collaborator so that your students can engage independently if you'd like for them to separately. So I think that's one of the ways they've countered it to begin with. I would love to see more interactive opportunities for the younger kids on the Achievery moving forward. I'm really hopeful that that's something that's going to come eventually. But right now it's a free resource platform, and it does provide quite a bit of stuff to help us. I love you said you're like, I'm learning things. I know I taught sixth grade math in public school, and I would sit there and have to look up YouTube videos sometimes to remember some of the formulas for things before I'm teaching my kids, because I'm like, I can't remember unless I'm looking at it. And I'm finding the same difficulty as a parent going all the way back to third grade. What am I supposed to teach at third grade? Well, I don't remember this concept, or now I put commas wherever I want. Like, what do you mean there's a rule? Like, if I do things. So I do like that it is a really cute little refresher opportunity for us as instructors
Yes.
to get in there. So what are some things that you'd like to see with the Achievery as we kind of move forward? Do you have any input?
My big thing is the interactive piece, and maybe more life science, because that's me being a little bit biased. It was very heavy on the math and engineering, but I did not see any biology or chemistry that
Yeah,
much. Okay. So
they're not there yet.
Yeah, so I did not see that. So if like last week when a few weeks ago when we did our cell theory unit, we would not that would have not been a source we would have used. So
Right,
yeah, maybe in the future, maybe that inclusion, especially like because healthcare is really big in our country and
right.
a lot of students do go into that field. So just that background knowledge will be helpful. Just at one more platform because there are other ones out there. But if it's available, the more resources, the better. It's
Yeah,
a it will serve our children better.
absolutely. No, I absolutely
Yes.
agree. Claudette, thank you so much for your time today and for your story and your input. It's so motivational to hear about, just parents who are focused on changing their kids' lives for the better and trying to be involved. And that comes in many shapes and sizes, and just one of those involve homeschool parents. And so it's really nice to be able to hear about that. To wrap us up, I would say if there are two main things you would say about the Achievery that would make it to where you're recommending this to other homeschool parents, like these are just the two top features that you think would really help another homeschool parent, whether they're brand new, just now learning about homeschooling and trying to take on the world like you were a couple years ago, or whether they're a seasoned homeschool parent who's just looking for an additional resource. What would those two things be, do you think?
I would say skill and background knowledge. And I think the Achievery would give you both. Just you will still have the background knowledge to start wherever you are. And with your skill, you can go back and tailor it to wherever you want the information to meet your students. So in terms of that, I'm very, very pleased. Skill and background knowledge. And you can find that not for every subject like we had discussed, but the information is out there. And artificial intelligence, which is where our world is going into, it's a very resourceful, and sometimes within the homeschool um community, it may be hard to integrate your STEM initiatives. So this is a good place to start, like coding and all that. That's where our world is going. So it's a good resource and it's free. So
And it's free, right? Like you can't go wrong. You can't go wrong with free. And one of the things when you sign up for the Achievery is that you can click when you're registering. It's like 5 seconds to put your stuff in to get an Achievery account, but you can click this thing that says that you can opt in for their newsletters. And the newsletters don't come all of the time. They're pretty sporadic based off of content and the feature pieces. But what comes through is like actual, like, hey, we've released new stuff, because they do release new content every quarter. So there's hundreds of videos that get added every quarter to continue to grow this platform, but also like featured pieces that have helped me. For example, one of the ones I like to talk about is on Pi Day on March 14th is National Pi Day for math. And I completely forgot about that, but I got my Achievery email because I'm signed up for the newsletters, and it came through and it was like, hey, it's National Pi Day. And then it gave me examples. They're like, hey, if your student is in, this learning level, here's a video we have to explain pi. If they're in this learning level, here's an application for using pi, and provided me that content. So especially as a homeschool parent where we like to take advantage of holidays and random things and learning, moments, I can be like, hey guys, today we're going to learn about pi. And there was stuff that was on my kids' levels that was provided to me through that newsletter. So I thought it was really cool that they do that and kind of give those to all of their subscribers to be like, hey, we're just here to share some really cool stuff that we have. So and I think I appreciate everything that you brought to the table today. You pointed out something that I've never heard before, and I haven't even thought about presenting it this way. And you talked about trusted sources, right? Reliable, legitimate sources where you feel like, okay, this content is real. It's not going to just teach my kids something random that turns out it's not true. And that is true. They have vetted these content collaborators and made sure that they are reliable, providing reliable, real academic information for these students. And I think that's something I took for granted just by assuming when I got into it. So I appreciate you pointing that out. That's a unique perspective from an outside person that we haven't had offered before when we've had these type of sessions. So that's something that I can take back and be like, yes, it is. This is really impactful too, because we want to make sure we're teaching our kids the right things in a safe environment. So do you have any questions for us, Claudette? Anything that you want to add before we wrap up?
no, I think this initiative is really impactful, and although it's in its infancy, it will go ahead. Even if you touch one more person, so that's all that matters. So congratulations on your work, and keep up the good work.
Thank you so much. You too, because what you're doing is impactful. Even though you may think it's only impacting your small family, it absolutely makes a difference overall on the people in your environment. So you keep up your good work too. Thank you guys for joining us today. Hopefully you got some really great information from myself and Claudette about how you can use the Achievery in your homeschool environment with your families, and how you can make some fun memories in the process. So I'd love to hear about anybody who does the moon crater experiment. So by all means, when you guys watch this, follow the link so that you can email back to me and let me know how that went. Send me some pictures. My kids and I are going to do it this week. Claudette, I challenge you guys to look for it and do it too soon, because I think it's going to be really cool to see all the pictures of creating our own moon craters, because that seems like a really cool video. So I'll make sure to link that specific experiment in our final piece here for you guys. But thank you for joining us. I hope you guys have a wonderful time, and don't forget to go check out the Achievery whenever you get the opportunity.